Hey guys, so I set out to build a pedal board after I bought this PV 6505 Plus, which is an all-tube amp. I'm really happy with it. It has a loop in the back as well, and this Furman pedal board, which is the Furman SPB8C. Is kind of an older style. I think it's actually discontinued now, but it is really great. It has a place to plug in all of your, you can plug your amp in, you can plug in 4 different 3-prong switches, and I also added an extra power supply to it. It also has its own 8 connections to it, so I have a total of 14 connections for power for the pedals. And I got about 13 pedals on here. I'm going to walk you guys through that process of building a pedal board. This is the style of pedal board where everything is on the top. So I really worked hard to kind of make sure everything was nice and neat. Easy, pedal board ergonomics to, move around the pedal board easily. I had to build a lot of these cables, and I'm going to walk you through that process as well. I set out to do this, and I did a lot of research, looked at a lot of videos, and though there was a lot of helpful videos on YouTube, there wasn't really a video that walked through this type of pedal board and through the whole process completely. So I kind of just did this video as I went along, and hopefully me kind of walking you through what I did to build this pedal board will kind of help you out. Also, if you have any questions, let me know, but also if you have any advice, let me know. I ran into some pitfalls, some things that should help other people, realize, it's not always simple. There are things that you run into that you don't expect, and I definitely ran into that, especially because it's an older board. I bought it used. Yeah, you're going to get the walkthrough of me going from rebuilding the top of the board with some felt kind of material to connect it through, and building the cables, soldering, and also staging the pedal board and putting the pedals down on it, and then connecting everything, and then reconstructing the whole board. I do a little sound test afterwards to kind of give you a sense of what I got out of this pedal board as far as sound and tone. And it was a lot of fun. I'm still kind of working out some kinks, but hopefully this can help you guys if you're looking to build a pedal board and you're wondering about the in and outs of it. Obviously you don't have to build cables yourself. I found it to be much cheaper to do that. I probably would have paid twice the price to get high quality lava cables or something like that were pre-assembled. I built Ogami cables with switchcraft pancake jacks for the most part, and just some other regular straight jacks. And I used some heat shrink tubing for those. I bought all those supplies on redco.com, which has good prices for bulk cables and a bunch of other kinds of things. Some things I got on Amazon, some things I got at Home Depot, but it's pretty easy to get a lot of this stuff. So look around, try to get the best prices. I also tried to get the best prices on all the pedals themselves. Waited for closeout deals, holiday sales, and used sites like Reverb and on Craigslist, and Sweetwater.com also was really good. I got some of the materials and the pedals there too. So let me know what you think. Let me know if this is helpful. There's some places where the sound isn't great. There's some places where the video isn't great. I figured out lighting at the last kind of end of the video. So hopefully it's still a helpful video for you guys. Definitely leave me some comments and let me know what you think. What I'm going to do is show you how to make this pedal board. You got to get all the tools for the most part, but they don't need to be so neat. And you got to get yourself the pedals. Make sure you have a cable connection tester to check all of your cables. Nothing short. Gotta have your iPhone for some tunes. And I got this bad boy, which is my favorite. The Furman, what do we got here? SPB8C stereo pedal board. And I'm gonna wire this from scratch. So I got all the pedals. Got all my tools in place. Got my whiskey. What I'm gonna show you is how to make another couple of cables. To kind of finish the board here, we're going to have to solder everything and clip a lot of crap and be delicate and make sure we get some strong connections on the cable tester that we got over there. And there's going to be a part of this pedal board with these pedals that are going to go into the front of the amp and parts that are going to go into the loop. I got a number of outlets on this one. That's what I love about it. You got 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4 different plug sections that you can use to plug in any kind of wall warts, and it's got plenty of space for that. It's also got 8 different connections for the pedals themselves in the 9-volt Boss barrel style. And I've also added a Mosky DC tank, which is going to give me another 6. So I'm not exactly the final configuration. I'm going to have to make sure these jacks are all clean. I've been having some problems with them actually, where they short out a little bit. Part of that is this wah, where the barrel jack connector doesn't stay in well, so I might have to do a custom solution there. And I'm going to attach this to the pedal board because only I really care about the model name, seeing as this is a discontinued model and they are becoming increasingly rare. At least they're hard to find on Boston's Craigslist, or not so many of them on Reverb either. I think that's because a lot of people who got them really love them and have good assemblies on them already, but they did discontinue this, and the company is barely making, I don't think they make any pedal boards anymore, so I think they do have a lot of power supplies and conditioners. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm going to be building this Furman SPB8C. We got the different power connections here on this pedal board planer. We got the electrical connections, the 9-volt, that's going to go into all the pedals. And then we also have the TS and TRS jacks that will be coming into this system to either go into the front of the amp or to go into the loop. This is new to me. I'm used to digital amps, but I finally got myself a tube amp. So I got the PV 6500 cab. Really love that amp. I wish it had a better clean section, but I might get my own separate clean tube amp, like something like the Fender Bassman or the Fender Deluxe Reverb, something like that. But I don't really know much about this stuff and how much it's going to cost, so I'm going to hold off on that. But I'm going to start you guys off with a video on this pedal board that I've been working on for a little bit. And sorry if it's a little shaky. I got some stuff with the other cam coming. But I've set up all of my tools. So I have a, what's this brand? Weiler soldering iron station, which has the sponge, which this is really good for keeping your tips clean for your soldering iron. That has a power. That's all actually going into the Furman power section.
just to use that while I'm, it's a great tool while I'm also building this pedal board, but it's also going to be the basis of the pedal board. It's going to have all the connections, some that go to the front of the amp and some that go to the loop. I also have an additional power supply that adds 6 to the 8 that's already on the Furman board. And then I can use this power section for anything else I want to plug in. I also have my TV, my computer plugged in. I'm watching The Matrix. So what I'm going to be doing is all the blue are the connections outside of the pedal board, and I'm going to be coming in here with the guitar, and then up here I have 2 different sections for the stereo, but actually I'm going to use it mono but with the loop section in the back. So I've got the part coming back into the amp, the part that connects to the start of the loop, the end of the loop, and then going back out to the return of the loop as well. And then this is going to be coming from the silencer. A little bit more on that in a second. And that's going to be going into this bottom row here, which is just the start of in guitar on the Furman pedal board. And that's eventually going to go to the front of the amp. We also have a section that's going to be returning from the digital delay, more on all of these pedals in a little bit. But that's going to be basically the last pedal in all of the chains, and that's going to come back into the end to go to the back to the loop. Okay, I'll show more on that in a little bit, but right now I'm going to get into what all the pedals are and a basic sense of why I have them, but I'm going to be mostly pretty simple about that, but then tell you the direction that I'm going in, what part goes from in the silencer's loop, because the silencer has its own independent loop as well, which will bring the noise. It acts as noise gate for all the pedals within the loop, and then that can go out to the front end of the amp. And then we have a section that will just be coming in through the phase pedal. These are not exactly the right pedals from the pedal board creator that I found online. But this is pretty close. They're all the right size of pedals, and I'll show you what I'm working with over here. So the first thing, you always got to get yourself a really good tuner. This is a TC Electronic Polytune. What's really cool about this tuner is that you can tune all 6 strings at the same time. I'm not going to be able to show it necessarily on this tutorial. Maybe you'll see it a little bit later when I get everything all connected. I can show you the display a little bit. But it's a really cool feature. I don't really use it that much, but this just also has a really great screen. It's really bright. You know, the little jack works really nice. So I've opted to go with this one. I also have a really handheld Boss chromatic tuner that I really like, so I use that. And I've also been getting into the ones that sit on your headstock. I just got a Snark one, which is really great. So actually, when I'm playing either at a lesson or when I am recording something, I actually keep the Snark headstock tuner on all the time, but I'll still want this Polytune so I can do a full tune-up of all the strings intermittently. So I already showed you the Polytune, but I start at the Electro-Harmonic silencer. So right here you go into, the guitar comes in, and then what you have is a loop. So I actually connect from the silencer to the Polytune over here, and that's the start of the loop. And eventually it's going to go through 8 pedals and come back. And so the silencer, this is a noise gate, which can take all of the kind of extra noise that you might be getting, or if you're getting a little squeal from a high gain setup, this is going to bring that down. The different knobs are there. I can show you a video on that another time. I'm not going to go too deep into these pedals, but just give you a sense of why I'm using them. So this is just to keep, when I go high gain, this is going to keep the noise down. And all the noise gates like it when the original guitar signal comes into them and then goes out to the rest of the pedals. So I've put this first, and then I'm going to use the loop. So we go to the Polytune. We need the tuner to keep you just nice and tuned up. And then what I do is go to the Custom Comp Deluxe. This is an MXR compressor pedal, and this is just to kind of equalize the volume, bring the volumes together between the high and the lows, and keep your mids in check as well. I like this one because it has a low cut or add, and so or it gets you to flat. Excuse me. So that way you can adjust your lows. I also have an EQ here, which I'm mostly going to rely on for high gain, high pass filters, low pass filters, things of that nature. But I am going to use this sparingly. So after I go from the MXR pedal, I'm actually going into my clean boost. This is the Cusack Music More Louder. I actually just picked this one up. I have a couple of new boxes over there in that corner. And so what you can see with the Cusack Music is just basic jack, how much extra gain you want. I think this one does 30 decibels. And it also has a buffer switch. So I don't know if you know about buffers, but it's something that I'm increasingly using. I actually had a good recommendation about trying to have a buffer pedal or a buffered pedal, like all the Boss pedals, closer to the front of your signal. So that's why the boost comes before any distortion or serious dynamics happen. So I put that right there to basically get a pretty much the clean signal, but then boost from my clean boost into my overdrive, and I'm going to go into a distortion here. So the Cusack Music, then we go to the Boss, classic Boss look. I got a few other Boss pedals that I'm going to show you. The Super Overdrive basically just gives you a little bit more spice on your high gain distortion setups. This more gain can kick it a little bit harder if you turn off the overdrive and just focus on the gain from the more louder pedal. You can get a different type of crunch, and that can also work nice on your clean channel, your crunch channel, and your high gain channel. Then I go into Dr. Scientist. This is a new pedal that I've learned about recently, and a company I've learned about recently. They're up in Canada. The Elements. What you have here is a lot of serious, like customizable gain structures that you can get. A full EQ sweep if you want. There's different gains modeled. How you want your clipping, how extreme you want that, and then also how you want to contour the gain. The EQ choices. Then you have your main gain knob, volume knob, mix knob. So basic push switch. And then from that, I'm going to go into my EQ. This is the MXR 6-band EQ. All your bands. I'm going to try to use this mostly as a mid boost, but I might also do this complete sweep of the 100 hertz range, so I can focus more on my mids, and then use the low cut here to kind of give me a little bit more sweep for my low section. But I still have to get used to all these pedals. They're all very new for me, and the amp is new for me, so it's going to take me a while to get that perfectly tuned the way I want. But it'll take its time. And from the EQ, I'm going into the wah pedal. This is just your basic classic Dunlop Crybaby wah pedal, the GC95, I think this is called. But it's just your basic wah. This one has a barrel female connector that might present some trouble, so I'm going to try to find a good custom solution to fix that. And then after we go out of the wah, we are going to go actually into the Furman. So this is the basically, all right, and then after the wah pedal, we're actually going to go out of here. This is one of the longer chords, and this is actually going to go back into the silencer's loop section. So what this does is all these 8 pedals, the tuner doesn't really contribute so much noise, but the silencer and the tuner don't really contribute much noise. The comp kind of squishes everything, may add a little bit, bring your noise floor up a little bit, but then we have the reduction here, so that kind of solves that problem, and that's going to go into the clean boost. Some people say that you can switch the direction of these, and go from your comp into your boost and into your overdrives. And what that will do is just kind of kick them a little bit harder. You can also kick the comp a little harder. You can do some different configurations here. This is the one that I found that would work for me, based on this Pedalboard planer online tool that helped me pick the pictures of the pedals that I wanted, and I then put this in Photoshop, and I was able to draw some lines to show the path that I was looking for. What configuration for the Furman loop in front of the amp section, and then I was also trying to be able to map out how I was going to connect all the parts that go in the amps loop, which is different than the loop in the silencer. So this did take a bit of a time to plan out, and then I slowly bought all the pedals that I needed. These are pretty much all brand new pedals, except for, well, I have the real one here, except for the wah pedal, and there's also a Boss MT2, the metal zone pedal that's in this container. I don't know if I'm going to get rid of that, or if I can find some space on this board, which I don't think I will. If I find some space for it, I might add it, but I'm also trying to sell that one on Reverb, so hit the shop if you want to pick up that pedal for cheap, because I'm trying to get rid of it. But I really love this pedal configuration. Not all of them have been fully tested, so we're going to see how things go. At the end, I'll do a full lineup of my rig. But what we have here is the front section of the amp, which I just ran you through all of those pedals. And then now I'm going to get to the rest of the pedals, which are going to go into the loop of the amp. Okay, so here are my measurements for all my cables. I actually made all of these cables. They're all custom. Those were bought at redco.com, and you can get bulk cable there and nice Switchcraft pancake jacks, which I use mostly for this board. There are a couple places, a couple pitfalls I'll show you where you really need some other types of jacks to get the job done. But I'll show you everything I used as I was going along, and I'm actually going to demonstrate making some of these cables and the different types of shapes and the things to consider. I'm not yet a pro at doing that, but I'll show you what I did to get some nice connections from my battery tester. But for the most part, I think I still kind of suck at that. But we'll take a look as I go through. So let me now, I'll be getting to the part that goes into the loop of the amp through the Furman connection section. So I got the MXR carbon copy, delay, phase, chorus, the digital delay. We have the ditto looper. Just can clean loop your whatever you send into it, and you can change the volume here. Here's one of the cables we got to build. I also got the Saturn Works. This is a little tap tempo for the digital delay. Boss makes their own, but it's a little bit bigger. I want to get the Saturn Works for this perfect size to fit in mix of these other pedals. All right, so I'll show you the route that I take here. So I still got to build one more cable, but one cable will come out of the loop in the Furman, all right, which is the top row, and that's actually going to go into the phase pedal. That connection's already there. So this is the Dunlop MXR Phase 95, which is basically bringing together three different types of phases. The classic Van Halen kind of phase, and we have all the 90, the 45, I think, and something else, the script version. And then there's your way to adjust that there as well. Basic switch. I used to be way more used to these Boss style switches, but a lot of these more boutique type pedals have these kinds of latch switches, which are nice. They do feel good. It does feel nice, and I think they sit a little bit higher from the knobs, so that does give you a sense of you can have some good pedal ergonomics to keep it very clean when you're using your pedal board. So I chose the Furman because I really wanted to keep everything really nice and clean. Have these connections for the front and the back of the amp. Have the power section already in here, but I also had to supplement with this Mosky DC tank. And also have these other power sections so I can keep everything nice and neat, both in my living room and hopefully on the stage as well. So let me now show you the rest of this route. So here's the rest of the route. What we have is the Furman coming into the Phase MXR, and then that goes straight into the Super Chorus. This is actually one of the shortest cables I built, but I have a couple of other ones. And then from the Super Chorus, I'm going into my analog delay. I had a good friend tell me that the analog, you need to have at least one analog delay. Since I have a digital delay at the end of my chain here, I ended up getting an analog in the front. And this is just a basic, not basic, this is one of the better, delays that you can get that's not above $200. So I really like this. I was trying to keep the pedal prices down. So I made sure to look very often once I decided with the pedalboard planner what pedals I wanted, and I got them all at either closeout or on Reverb at low prices. And so I just did my best to make sure that I paid as little as possible, because I pretty much bought all of these pedals just recently. And so I was trying to buy one pedal per paycheck. So that worked out nice, actually. So that's a good saving tip if you want to know how you can do it in a short period of time and still get all the pedals quickly. All right. So we went from the phase to the chorus to the analog delay, and then straight into the volume pedal. This is actually a really cheap but very effective volume pedal, and this one also doesn't need to be powered, so that saves me a space so that I maximize what I have here for power. And then that goes into my Ditto looper. That's going to loop whatever comes through. It's going to play that again at a whatever volume I choose. And then that goes into my digital delay pedal. And that has the tap tempo right here to control this tempo here on the Boss digital delay. And after that, we leave this pedal. I know this is pretty long-winded, right? We leave this pedal right here, the digital delay. After we go volume pedal, looper, digital delay, and then we come out of that and we go back into the Furman's loop. All right, and that's going to go in that connection. I'm going to actually build that cable for you guys so you can see how I did this. And so there's multiple loops going on here, so it really took me a long time to figure out this path to make this pedal board most effective. There are different pedal board styles. I really like this one because it feels very all-in-one. It has a carrying case, and you can get a handle so you can drag it. So I really wanted to get this one. But there's a lot of different styles of pedal boards. Some people swear by the pedal train style, which have the rails. And then what you can do is wire your connections underneath the board. And that keeps it very clean on top. So there's a trade-off here. So then after I've done that, I'm going to come in here with the send of the amps loop. Then this cable connects to the phase, okay? So this is the loop for the loop. So this does get kind of crazy. And then we go from the digital delay back into the Furman section right here. So it's the end of the loop, all right? I know it's not... Well, when I have everything all set up, I'll do another run through so you can see it with the amp and see what I'm actually dealing with. And then this goes to the return of the amp. So the amp is actually upstairs. Eventually I'll do a whole run through of the whole new rig, so you can see how that's connected. And then here, this connector came from the silencer, and that goes into what it says right there, in from pedals on the Furman. Okay, and then this is gonna have, I'm gonna build another cable. I'll show you guys how I do that one, that goes into the front of the amp. It says left here because if this is a mono section, this is just the cable to go to the front of the amp. But what I can do is also do a setup for a stereo, so I can reconfigure how I use these inputs to get different styles of connection. That's actually all in the SPB 8C's manual, and you can see how you can set up different configurations. The one that I'm setting up is the traditional setup for amp with a loop, a pedal loop in the back. All right, and just for your information, the 6550 I think is what I have, or the 6500 series. That one has a serial loop as opposed to a parallel loop in the back. So in case you are wondering, because it's not really clear on the documentation, that is a serial loop on this one. So parallel, you can change the volume, there's a mix. This one doesn't have that. Okay, perfect. And then we also have the power section here. So this is going to have some different power sections that I'm going to have to try to get nice and clean underneath all these other pedal connections. So that's going to be somewhat of a challenge. And then I'm also going to have to wire this thing up. And I'm also going to attach that to the pedal board with some of this Velcro right here. So that's going to keep this nice and clean and still have all the connections I need. All right, so I think pretty much now I am going to get into building a couple of cables, and I'll show you the cables that I have here and how I built those. I also, measured all of them and all this stuff. And I think I'll have a shot of whiskey now. All right.